Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Book by Lauren Child. Herb loved storybooks. Although he wasn't a very good reader, it didn't matter because he could tell a lot from the pictures. Herb liked the scary ones best, with pictures of dinosaurs gobbling up other dinosaurs or swooping vampires chasing people who had foolishly decided to go for a midnight stroll without any garlic. Herb read his books everywhere. This is why many of the pages were stickily stuck together, soggy around the edges, and usually had bits of banana, biscuit, and the odd pea squashed between the pages. On this particular night, Herb's friend Ezzy was staying over, and earlier the two of them had been playing a game involving a great deal of untidying things, and by the evening Herb had trouble even finding his bed. By the time he had, Ezzy was already slightly snoring, so Herb searched around for a book to amuse him until he dozed off, but the only one to find was a book of fairy tales. It hadn't been looked in for a very long time and was quite dusty. It was actually quite exciting, but even so, Herb's eyes became heavy, and before he could close the book, he fell asleep with his head on the page. Herb woke with a start to hear a strange, high-pitched shrieking noise. He looked over to see if Ezzy was awake, but there was no sign of him at all. Furthermore, his bed had become sort of lumpy and huge, which was funny because Herb had always found his bed to be just right. "What are you doing here? How dare you be on this page? I am the star, and I say you are not allowed in this story," shrieked the shrieking thing. Where am I?" stammered Herb. "On my page," screeched the girl. "But who are you?" asked Herb, not sure that he wanted to know. "I," said the little girl, somehow managing to raise her voice even higher. "I am Goldilocks, of course, and this is my story." And that's when it dawned on Herb that he had fallen into the book. Herb scrambled out of bed as fast as he could, scooted down the stairs and went slap-bang-wallop into 3 different-sized bears. "Whoops! I'm so sorry," squeaked Herb, terrified. "I didn't mean to be here." "Oh, that's quite all right," said the largest bear. "It could happen to anyone." "And it does. All the time," said Small Bear, scowling at Goldilocks. "How about some porridge?" said the medium-sized bear. "You might find it too hot or too cold. I'm afraid that we are right out of just right." "Ahem," coughed Goldilocks. "In case you Peabanes had forgotten, the story is called Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, not the little show-off in pyjamas who has breakfast." Herb ran for it. He ran past 2 children nibbling a house made of ginger biscuits. "I wouldn't do that," called Herb. "Oh, get lost," shouted the children. He ran past a man climbing up what looked like a long plait of hair. "Ouch!" cried the voice belonging to the hare. And when he saw a cat wearing a feathered hat and high-heeled boots, Herb ran just a little bit faster. He ran all the way through the forest. At long last, he came to an enormous door. It was difficult to open because the illustrator had drawn the handle far too high up for Herb, and after 3 attempts at jumping, he managed to grab it and slowly creak the door open. There seemed to be a party going on. Everyone was dressed up to the nines and dancing in wigs. One by one, the dancers noticed Herb, and the music ground slowly to a halt. It was so quiet you could hear a pea drop. Or was it a pin? Well, you could have heard something drop had it not been for the couple in crowns having a furious row in loud voices. "Where the dickens is that twerp Prince Charming?" "Never mind him. Where the devil is my throne?" Herb couldn't help noticing that the Queen had a moustache drawn on in biro. "And who might you be?" demanded the Queen. "This is a private royal party, you know, and no one in pyjamas is invited." I'm Herb," said Herb. I own this book." "Oh, so you're the doodler who's ruined my looks," she said, pointing at her moustache. "And where's my throne, you little scissor snipper?" It was then that Herb remembered. Last year, when he was much younger, he had drawn moustaches and glasses on many of his characters and added telephones to all of the rooms. He'd be going through a scribbling phase. He had also cut out the royal thrones for a model spaceship that he and Ezzy were making. And he had a horrible feeling that he might also be responsible for the disappearance of Prince Charming. As Herb wondered desperately what to do next, he noticed his pencil case lying on the floor. He'd been looking for that for months. "It's all right, I can draw you a new throne," he said. "Well, make sure it has lots of twirly bits," blustered the Queen, or the King. "And I want gold, of course," ordered the Queen. Herb didn't have a gold crayon. It would have to be green. The Queen didn't look impressed. Then, finding an eraser, Herb started to rub away at the Queen's moustache. "Ow! Ow! Ow! That really hurts! Seize him!" she roared. Herb made a dash for it. There wasn't time to get to the door, but by snipping a hole in the palace floor, Herb managed to wriggle through to the next page. He could hear the Queen shouting, Look, he's at it again!" Herb found himself in a very oddly arranged room. "Who are you, you measly little rodent?" Looking up, Herb saw Cinderella's wickedly mean stepmother and her ugly daughters. "I'm Herb," called Herb. "What are you doing up there?" "I wonder. We are pretending to be flies," scoffed the woman. "Or could it be that some vile, good-for-nothing child tore out our page and put it back in upside down? I wonder who that could be," said Herb, slightly blushing. Probably some hideous little boy," snarled the stepmother, fixing Herb with her beady eyes. "Now we can't get to the ball, and Prince Charming can't fall madly, utterly in love with us. It's so unfair," whined the pudgy sister. "He wouldn't look twice at you," said the skinny one. "Oh, do be quiet," hissed the stepmother. "I'm feeling queasy." Just then, the telephone started to ring. Sticking telephones in fairy tales had seemed funny at first, but Herb could see that they were turning out to be rather a nuisance. "Hello? Why, hello, Your Majesty. Yes. As a matter of fact, there is a little pyjamaed boy here." "He did what?" "Oh, he did he? Well, don't you worry, I'll deal with the little weasel," she said, giving Herb a shrivelling look. "Oh, and by the way, if you see that nosy Goldilocks, bring her straight to me and tell her to bring a ladder over." "So, this is your doing," she screamed, leaping onto her chair. "I'm going to make you wish you'd never opened a book." Herb speedily drew a door on the wall, ran through it and slammed it shut. "Come back here, you little horror," she screeched. Herb was in a very dusty kitchen. His feet were sticking to the floor, and there were what looked like giant biscuit crumbs all over the place. "Sorry about the dirt," a bedraggled yet pretty girl said. "Aren't you meant to be at the royal ball?" asked Herb. "Yes, but I had to come home because the prince was late, and my party dress dissolved into rags, and I really looked a mess, and then my carriage turned back into a pumpkin, which was embarrassing. Would you like a cup of tea?" She really was very nice, and Herb was beginning to feel extremely guilty, because he'd just remembered where Prince Charming was. Herb had cut him out to make a birthday card for his mother. "If only I could get out of this book and find the prince for you," he said. "Oh, I know who could help," said Cinderella, picking up her phone. Drat! Absolutely maddening. I was just in the middle of a spell. This had better be very important. It's an emergency. Absolutely everybody's after me. You'll have to get me out of this book, yelled Herb. Well, let me see. A, are you my fairy godchild? No, you are not. I don't do boys, only girls. Worse luck for you. What do you expect when you go about scribbling and snippering and generally causing mayhem? That is no way to treat a book, you know. And C, jumping into other people's stories really is very rude. But I can't seem to find my way out, pleaded Herb, near his wit's end. All right, keep your pyjamas on. I suppose I'll have to come to the rescue as always. Now, where did I put my wand? He's in your kitchen. Oh, at that moment, the door flew open. He's in your kitchen, looking for more food. It was unmistakably ear-piercing voice of Goldilocks. Right behind her was the wicked stepmother. And she was not in a pretty mood. Having snagged her stockings climbing a ladder out of the upside-down room. What shall I do? Flustered Herb. Quick, climb up the text, said Fairy Godmother. Herb grabbed hold of the letters and scrambled up the sentences. Some of the words were a little bit weak and the whole lot started to wobble. "He's getting away!" screamed Goldilocks so loudly that the whole book shook and slipped off the bed, sending Herb falling headlong through the air into his own bedroom floor. "What's happening?" squeaked a startled Ezzy, sitting upright in bed. As you can imagine, it took some explaining. Ezzy and Herb spent the rest of the night putting the storybook back to rights. They rubbed out moustaches, cleaned out crumbs, and blew away the dust. And the bewildered Prince Charming was taken off the birthday card and sticky-taped back into the ballroom. His dancing would never be quite the same again due to his severe leg creasing. It was tempting to leave the wicked stepmother's room upside down, but Herb resisted. However, he couldn't help drawing a padlock on the Three Bears' front door, and Ezzy just couldn't help sticking a wig on Goldilocks. Well, serves her right for being such a meanie. So the next time that Herb opened the book, he saw a little girl standing outside the Three Bears' cottage, desperately trying to open the door. A very cross little girl with mousy brown hair.